Yes.
I saw that Russell
exactly.
Dodd
Oh, yeah.
emailed
And I'm just,
Ryan,
Yeah.
I'm
CC'd me on it
perplexed.
about
I'm just
the
like, wow, that's
radio
why
radios.
Exactly. Oh, yeah.
I'll show you some of the fun.
Well, no,
Based on,
you didn't hear the
connections
latest
and-
then, did
No,
you?
that was
Yeah.
recent.
Yeah,
Russell said we
should
could
not
put
be.
a project in for this one to, Yeah.
That's my.
so I don't know what it is you
I
guys
have a-
need, but, or just wanna write up a little, if you wanna write up a little
Overall-
sentence, I'll send it over to him as to how to project.
Services Did you get that? That's yours.
That's mine?
That's yours.
Okay.
Is there one for me, Mrs. Speaker?
Chief brought him around.
Never mind, I go. It's okay, we're good. Sorry.
All right, welcome to the Public Service Committee meeting, Tuesday, August 22nd, 2023. Roll call, please.
Alderman Sherry Pickering. Here. Eve Ludwig.
Present.
Tricia Teague.
Present.
Robert Williams.
Present.
Darren York.
Here.
John Cooper.
Here.
Chairman Rick Streebing.
Here.
7 present.
Evan, thank you. We have the approval of minutes for 7/25/23. I'll need a motion and a second, please.
Second.
So moved.
Second.
I'm sorry.
Motion and a second.
I'm sorry.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item number 3, approve the agenda we have in front of us this evening. I need a motion and a second on that.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Puts us to audience comments.
Did anyone wish to speak this evening? Okay, evidently not.
Nobody? Okay. And I have no real comments, so we'll move right on to approval of the payrolls for 8/18 of 23. I'll need a motion and a second to approve the payrolls.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions on the payrolls? If not, roll call, please.
Alderman Teague.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
York.
Yes.
Cooper.
Yes.
Pickering.
Yes.
Ludwig.
Yes.
Streebing.
Yes.
7 yes.
7 yes, thank you. Puts us to approval of vouchers payable for 8/22 of 23. I'll need a motion and a second for that as well.
So moved. Second.
Any questions on the vouchers payables? Not, roll call, please.
Alderman Williams.
Yes.
York.
Yes.
Cooper.
Yes.
Pickering.
Yes.
Ludwig.
Yes.
Teague.
Yes.
Streebing.
Yes?
7 yes.
Yes, thank you. Puts us to item number 8, City Clerk's Report for Lisa Munson, items of information.
Good evening. Wanted to let everyone know that the office has been updating applications. That's the temporary and the regular annual business licenses. And the applications can be found on the city clerk's page on the website. Citizens can also come to our office. We'll be glad to email them to them. You know, this is for like special events, temporary liquor licenses, various things like that. And they're under Laserfish, so hopefully people can figure out how to use them. If not, they can definitely give our office a call. You still cannot make a payment online, but you can call and give your credit card over the phone for those. I also wanted to let you know the Codifier, who is the company that does the Code of Ordinance book, their office is experiencing delays, and other city clerks have talked about that as well. So if you're wondering why that hasn't been updated lately, if you're looking up something on our Code of Ordinances, that's why. I'm hoping they have all of our ordinances from a 6-month time period, and I'm still waiting on those to be updated. I still don't have the proof on that yet. And I wanted to announce the construction is almost completed in our office for our new counter. And with that, we were able to make more room in our office, and we were able to move our cash register. And I just would like to thank Public Works, Comptroller Massey, and IT for assisting in that project and making it happen. It's really worked out well so far. So if you get a chance, stop by and look at it. And we're continuing to meet with Council Simon on the liquor ordinance rewrite. And I also have the Danville Public Building Commission budget for fiscal year '24. If anyone would like to see it, their budget year goes from November 1st, '23 to October 31st, '24. I just didn't include it in the packet, but if anybody wants to get a copy of that, let me know. Or I can email it to the whole committee. And that's all.
Is there any questions for Ms. Munson? Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Puts us number 9, Finance, Ashton Macy, Comptroller, items of information, and we'll go right into Risk Management Monthly Report and the Personnel Monthly Report. Ms. Macy?
Good evening. I have quite a few updates this evening. We can start off with the risk management monthly report or personnel report. Are there any questions on those before I get into other updates? Okay, so the first update I'd like to give is the finance division has completed all bank reconciliations associated with fiscal year 22 and handed those off to Clifton Larson Allen. We've given them every item they're waiting on for fiscal year 22, so hopefully in the next month or so they can review everything and wrap up our audit and issue financial statements. We're very excited about that, and we look forward to jumping right into fiscal year 23. I do want to give you kind of an update. As I mentioned prior, Clifton Larson cannot issue our engagement letter until the last fiscal year is wrapped up, so it's going to be kind of a tight turnaround of getting our new engagement letter for fiscal year 23 audit and financial statement review. There is going to be an increase in audit fees due to the delays, as we've discussed prior. There's a national shortage of auditors. We have had a long-standing relationship with Clifton Larson, and they've worked with us very well during this time. This is not their issue, this was our issue. So I guess I just want to give you a heads up that there will be an increase in audit fees estimated. So what we were proposed is originally this year was expected to be just under $85,000, and they would like to they've issued the amount of $112,000 for the city portion and $13,000 for Danville Mass Transit. So that's a total estimated increase of $40,000 and some change. So we will see that in their proposal. If there's any kind of discussion or debate about that, I would like to have that sooner rather than later and not wait until I bring the engagement letter for approval. Because if we were to look for another auditor, that is an extremely difficult process, and we cannot delay that, which I would not recommend at this time. We do plan to go back out to bid next year anyway, so just wanted to give you that item of information. Are there any questions on the audit, fiscal year 22, 23, coming fees, anything like that? Okay. On another note, the finance division has been working with the IT division on developing a GIS map that we would like to use to audit utility bills continuously throughout the city. We really appreciate Adam All's assistance and Agnell's support. This is going to link with our GIS maps, and we're going to be able to import data from the county tax website, use the sky level images to calculate square footage, because that's how we calculate a lot of our public safety pension fees. We're going to be able to import data from our utility billing software and basically just do a continual review. So as time allows, at the end of the day or after a project or whenever, we're able to get on the GIS site. Okay, does this data, what we're billing, match reality for this parcel? And we'll be able to go through and mark that as we go through, and then once you're done, you just go back to the beginning and start all over. So in theory, the first account that's reviewed is equidistant time of review to the next time, same as the middle account that's reviewed to the middle account to the last. So it should be like a continual process. We're really excited about that. So we've been working hard on that project. And then we've also been moving forward with the compensation study. HUB is supposed to be providing raw data from our survey towards the end of this week, beginning of next week, so we look forward to seeing that, and then helping us compose kind of a compensation philosophy as opposed to just presenting the data they got from other municipalities. So those are my updates. Are there any questions?
The GIS thing you were talking about, what does that have to do with the public pension fee?
So not the residential, but our commercial is based on square footage and EAV. So if you have, let me think. If you're under 2,500 square foot, it's like one flat fee. If you're over 2,500 square foot, then it's based on EAV, whether you're under or over 5,000 EAV. So there's 3 different public safety pension fees you could have based on those factors. So we have to review that. You know, if someone, like if a business had an addition, or, you know, maybe it was demolished or different things like that, that's how it plays into it.
And that's the only thing you're checking on?
No, we're checking on sewer. We're overlaying it with our sewer map that we have to check those items, you know, just to make sure. Because we took that data from our third-party vendor that was billing for us previously. We imported those accounts and just picked up where they left off. So we want to make sure that everyone's paying their fair share and no one's paying more than they should. So we're auditing that as well as the solid waste delivery map.
Is there any questions for Ms. Macy? Well, you guys are busy.
Thank you.
Which is item number 10. Aaron Markhardt, Fire Chief, items of information, and we'll have the monthly status report and the Fire Chief staff report.
Hi. Thank you. So 2 of our firefighters that were on probation successfully completed that probationary year, so they're now full-time firefighters with us. Both did really well. The 6 that we hired in February, 5 of them are going to start their EMT class next week. Other than that, they're all doing great. We've had several outside instructors in the last few months teaching some classes, and they praise them constantly about how hard they work and the stuff that they do. So we're all really happy with them so far. The ladder truck is still awaiting parts. So as our last update, we're down to just a couple more parts of the aerial. So I guess we're still waiting to see what the delivery date will be for that. One of the purchases we made last few months was to replace our airbag lift system. So that's been all trained on and put into service. The kind of thing we'd use to lift a rail car off somebody or something large, a car off someone or something like that. That's all been updated and redone for us. So we're good there. One thing we're kind of happy about, we contacted Mungie Milling about providing some technical training involving grain and farm operations and things like that. And I actually have to make a correction. They actually sent 10,000 instead of the 8,800 that they told us they would send to put on a class sometime this fall that we're going to get organized. So we can kind of work on grain bin rescue and things like that for them, for their employees, and for us on how to do it safely and stuff. So thank you to them for that. Several other events. Mostly it's just been in-house training this month. One thing you might have noticed is the fire prevention code enforcement kind of got ramped up. The gentleman who used to do that got promoted, went to a different office, and actually been off for a medical reason. So we moved another guy up into that to work on that stuff, Lieutenant McFadden. So we finally got the whole thing rolling to where the engine companies will go out and do a preliminary kind of a check of most facilities. We don't really have our engine companies write up citations, but they essentially report to Lieutenant McFadden if there's a bigger problem that they see, or that way it's kind of controlled information-wise for the businesses. They're not getting conflicting information, so we can control that better. So he's been going through those backlog of re-inspections that needed to be performed. So I know it's a little confusing. So they've done 84 company inspections. There's been 171 violations found. 109 of them have been corrected just in that little time. So, and then 1 citation issued in that realm. For someone. So the way that works for us is the company goes out in general. Lieutenant McFadden will do sort of your target hazards, we call it, your nursing assisted facilities, churches, places of assembly, bars, things like that that are more life-threatening. The company sees something, they'll tell McFadden, he'll go out and then kind of start them down a road, give them another chance, another 30 days and another 30 days. And after about the 3rd visit, we start to move towards citation if they haven't corrected it. So that's been going on. The fire investigation teams, we just had 2 more people get their notification this week that they've passed now, so we're getting those numbers back up on the fire investigators side of things. We're 1 or 2 people away from all of our command officers being fire investigators, so therefore we can always have someone on duty that can do it any day. We don't have to necessarily rely on somebody being called back. And they can also investigate all the smaller fires and things like that on shift and stuff like that we can do with them. So that was the goal of that program. We're pretty close. Myself and 2 other guys will be going this fall to complete that out. So, other than that, I guess if you have any questions. Fires and the calls have been on pace as normal, averaging about 350 a month. A little less of a fire this month. We only had 4 structure fires this month, last month, so down a little bit, knock on wood. So that's about it. If you have any questions, I guess.
Anybody have any questions for the chief? Yeah, go ahead, Rick.
Thank you. I just want to say I really appreciate Chief Marcotte and Lieutenant Allison and the training that they've been doing. I think it's been much more intense. It's been much more visible, and we appreciate that you're making sure that our men and women are ready for any situation. The other thing, before I forget, is I want to remind you all that we will be having a swearing in next Wednesday for couple of police officers at 9 a.m. and then immediately following we'll be swearing in a new firefighter. Thankfully, he already has academy and such, so he'll be able to start nearly immediately, which will also reduce our overtime. And so I just appreciate the chief and the board for being proactive.
Yeah, the mayor and I were just up here chit-chatting a little bit. Things with the inspections are hanging a lot better than what they were a few years back, so that's good. That is real good. And I did see your guys out training on Gilbert Street, and one of the houses is gonna get tore down,
Yeah.
so.
Yep, they've done pretty intensive training this month. We did standpipe operations through the Wolford, who volunteered their building for us to go up there and practice dry, laying hose throughout the building and getting to certain parts of the building. Obviously a high-risk place for us, you know. They went to the parking garage and actually then flew water, you know, to simulate actually a place where they could throw water. And so today we were searching in the heat this morning, so try to do it as early as we could to get them through and that stuff and things. So it's been a really intensive month for them to train. So.
And I think it's good that Bunge's gonna help out on that, because around here, you know, with all the farmers and stuff, that's, everybody needs to be on their toes on that stuff, so. Thank you, Chief. Puts us to item 11, the Human Relations, Sandra Finch, Administrator. We had items of information and her monthly status report. Ms. Finch?
Good evening, everyone. For the period of July 18th through August 21st, my office handled 27 complaints. In reference to the new complaints, there were 0 police complaints, 1 employment complaint, 2 complaints against other city employees, 7 housing complaints, and 3 public accommodation complaints. In reference to the other complaints, I still have 7 police complaints, 3 employment complaints, 2 complaints against other city employees, which comes up to a total of 27 complaints. You have any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Finch? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
What's this item number 12? Information Technology, Agnell De Silva, Administrator. 12A, we have a resolution authorizing backup system upgrade for the Information Technology Division. Item number 20. I make the motion to approve and dispense with the reading and ask for your approval. I'll need a second, please.
Second.
Is there any questions on this resolution?
What are we doing here?
So basically, this is our backup system for all our data that's hosted in-house here. We had a 3-year contract prior to this with a company called Dado that is expiring on October 1st. So I did some research and found that we have another solution which is more advanced now. And as and when technology gets advanced and stuff, so this is a good fit for us, a company called Unitrends. And we're going to save $12,000 a year with this solution compared to what we had. And the renewal costs on the other one we had was way higher than this company. And not only that, this gives us an additional set of backups, third set of backups off-site. Like, for example, like we could take the data from here and save it at Public Works building if something would happen in this building, and in cloud as well as on-prem.
Would you do bid it out?
We have 2 sets of backups, one on-prem and one in cloud. But with this, we can leverage our existing equipment, like the HP servers that we have. We have a lot of them. So it gives us the ability to use those servers for the next 3 to 5 years to use those as a third backup.
Is there any other questions on this resolution? Not, roll call, please.
Alderman York,
Yes.
Cooper,
Yes.
Pickering,
Yes.
Ludwig.
Yes.
Teague.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Strebing.
Yes,
7 yes.
thank you. Puts us to Agnell, items of information and his monthly status report.
So you should have all received the monthly status report. Are there any questions on the report? No, all I want to say is just thank my team for trying to keep up with all the projects and the day-to-day stuff that's going on. Good news is we have an intern that started August 14th, young kid. I'm pretty excited about that, and he picked up right on day 1, and he's been helping us catch up with a lot of stuff. Really looking forward to seeing what he can achieve here. So DAC has been really helpful, and we have good students from DAC as well. So.
Thank you, Agnell.
That's all I have, and we're still working with AT&T. We have minor issues like porting numbers over. That's always a challenge when you go from one carrier to another carrier. They're not playing nice. So I think we are pretty close to getting those numbers ported over to AT&T pretty soon. there were some issues with Comcast not being responsive and things like that. So, but I think we got good control on that now. So we're hoping by mid-September we should be able to move everything over to AT&T. Other than that, doing some research on moving some of our systems over to cloud to save some costs in the long run. So we're looking at next year or two, a good plan to, thanks to it, Comptroller. We've been working with the capital project as well as plan to migrate some of that to cloud. Well, not only it saves us on equipment and maintenance and licensing costs, but it also, with maintaining some of that stuff offsite, if something would happen here, then we don't have downtime. It's available in cloud, and then we can be functional, continue to function for all the city services and things. That's all I have.
Thank you, Agnell.
Thank you.
Okay, we have Assistant Corporation Counsel Tim Palin, items of information, and our stat report. Legal?
Thank you. So included, obviously, with the committee packet for this evening is a report for July prepared by Mr. Simon. Included with that report is a fair amount of statistical data and additional reports. One for the discrete period, obviously, that just encompasses the month of July, but additional statistical reports from January 1st of this year, also through the end of July. So I will inform the committee that I did not have a chance to review all those statistics in depth with Mr. Simon before he left. I am otherwise familiar with the statistics, so obviously rather than go through all of those and simply recite them to the committee, I would just ask if there are any questions associated with any of the particular numbers or the enforcement measures undertaken as reflected through the legal department.
I have a couple of questions. Okay. So the portion of the report where it lists the total violations for prior month, and it has north, south, east, and west. I'm assuming since we have 4 inspectors that this corresponds with the color-coded legend that north would be area 1 because that's Kenny's area, which is the furthest north. South would be area 3 because that's Rick's area, which is furthest south. East would be area 4, which is Brandon's area, that's furthest east. And then west would be Daniel's area. Is that assumption accurate?
I believe that's correct,
okay.
Yes.
Okay. Then the other question that I have, I got to get to that page. There was a section, I gotta find it, I was looking at it earlier, that listed, okay, it's on page 2 of the detailed report. It lists placing solid waste for collection toters. I'm assuming that these are toter violations and that there's 6 listed.
And I'm sorry, what?
It's on page 2 of the full data set.
The one that goes from January to July?
No, the one that's 7/1 to 7/31.
Okay.
So in your, I don't know how far down, because there's like a bunch of different things together.
Is it, you're looking at it electronically as well, aren't
Yes,
you? What page of the document is it overall?
44, 45, yes, thank you.
45, okay.
So at the top of the page, there's 6 violations. I'm assuming that these are toter violations. Because what I was looking, my real question, if these are what I think they are, was that the date that's listed on here is the date of the violation.
So the date that's listed next to in going down through all of the various violations, that's listed there, you're talking about that date to the left. That, my understanding is that would have been the violation date.
Okay. Those were the only questions that I had. Thank you.
Is there any other questions for our legal department? If not, Mr. Powell, thank you very much.
Thank you.
What's this item number 14? Chris Yates, our police chief. You got items of information, and we'll go through 14, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Discussion on Citizen Police Academy, report on radar traffic speed signs, July 2023 offense data, and 2023 year-to-date offense data. Chief?
Wanted to make sure everybody knew that the Citizens Academy starts in, on September 20th. I'm sorry, September 20th this year. It'll go on through till November 15th. Again, I'd like to invite any of you, the council, to attend. It's a pretty good time. There's a lot of insight and understanding of the dynamics of the police department as well as part of the criminal justice system. Many of you have attended, and I think many of you, I don't know if any of you have said that you're disappointed in it. Going to the next, and also it's on our website, the application. Most of you guys would qualify. I'm just kidding. You'd all be accepted, I'm sure. We'll find someone who knows somebody. But anyway, we're looking to have a pretty heavy class this year. As far as the report on did anybody have any questions on the Citizens Academy? As far as the report on the traffic radar speed signs, this is something that we are in partnership with District 118, and we just pulled the first the data off of it for the first 4 months, April through July. And it's hard because we don't have anything to compare it to, whether or not, there's nothing before it other than what we've seen, what we observed, and the complaints that we received. However, we do believe that it's made some type of difference. I don't have that empirical data to show that or support that. However, more so than that, this is sort of the reason why I brought it was an example of how we can use data and intelligence information for resource allocation and how we align. Now, this is just traffic enforcement, which is a small part of what the officers do on a day-to-day basis. But we can also look at this as far as calls for service, not using this method of data collection, but there's other ways that we're doing this. And it's helping the police department as far as resource allocation, where we put our people and how we set out our patrols. We found over the last 4 years that the more intelligence we gather and base our enforcement process on that and our practices, we seem to be a lot more successful in not only responding to crimes, but deterring it and stopping it from happening in the first place often. So, and which leads into the monthly totals I give you every month. But one thing that was neat with those cameras, this radar speed signs, first of all, how we got them was with partnership with District 118. They actually funded each one of those cameras under this DCO grant. We're purchasing more to put along routes in front of the other school zones. That's going to take IDOT approval because they are on State Route 1. But you look at it, and lots of times we hear, man, everybody's flying down such and such street. This actually gives us an idea, and we broke it down into people that were driving the speed limit and under, 1 to 5 miles over, 6 to 10 miles over, 11 to 45 on up to 65 miles per hour. And we're seeing non-compliance anywhere from 2 being our least and somewhere around 20% being our most non-compliance. It also tells us the hours, the peak times where those are, where that's happening, traffic, vehicles per hour that are going through that area, as well as total traffic during that time frame. So it's given us a little bit of information that we can work with. There was a couple things I wasn't happy with. We're getting with the company to see what all else we can get and utilize based off the information it's given us. But it's sort of interesting, some of these places where people, we think they're going a lot faster than what they are, and then we get 91.6% of the people are either driving the speed limit or less in particular areas. Obviously, the Fairchild corridor is our biggest challenge, and we're going to continue with that. But we have them right now set up around the school zones. That's where we wanted to focus first as far as the school, going into the school year and starting the school year. We've also had that reflected in our traffic enforcement. Any questions on that?
Can I make a suggestion?
Go ahead.
That there might be a different color besides blue for this 46 to 65, because I looked at this and freaked out, because I thought that, oh my God, 90% of the people in my neighborhood are doing 46 to 65. And then I realized that there are 2 blues on here.
I did too.
No, I'll make that, I'll make that recommendation. I think a lot of it, I don't know what all colors we have in our printer, so we may have been limited.
Gotta be a green somewhere.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because that 46 to 65 should be red.
Exactly.
Yeah, I saw it at first too, and it scared me as well, but we're a little late getting this stuff all put out, so, yeah, thank you, though. Any other questions?
No, that was.
All right. Yeah, like I said, it's it's funny when, especially when a lot of how data works and statistics. Part of the game is figuring out the best way of putting it together to get the information you need in order to utilize a plan to change what you see as a reality, and that's what we're working on. So that's where I'm moving forward in that. The last thing is essentially just.
Chief, I think Alderwoman.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I may have missed, you may have mentioned this, and I was just reading the data and not paying attention, but Jackson and Davidson and Jackson and Prospect, the last 2 pages, just a few blocks apart, and the data is very, very much the same. What were you looking at there just within that?
One's northbound, one's southbound, and we're using that to monitor the safety for the students coming out of Northridge. And what's unique about Northridge, all of them have a lot of pedestrian traffic, but Northridge has a large number of students that leave, they're older, and a lot of them are walking unsupervised. And also during track season, there's a large number of those students that walk to Danville High School straight up Jackson to Seidel and the sports facility there every day. So we want to make sure and get on top of that to where we have the right resources in place to make sure that people are compliant with the speed zones for the safety of our children. We're also heavy right there at Fairchild near Colfax, English around Northeast, and we'll be hitting the schools that are along Vermilion Street, and I believe also there's another location it slipped my mind, but we have more signs going up. Public Works were essential in helping us getting those up. The people in the sign shop, excellent. Rob Dietzen and his crew jumped to it, and I appreciate that. So, any other questions? As far as we already covered Citizens Academy, we have 3 officers graduating Thursday after 17 weeks at PTI. Seems like, I think when I went, it was like 8 or 10 weeks. They keep adding weeks. But anyway, the training's been excellent for them. We have 4 officers that are going to be sworn in on August 30th. And we have 4 officers that are just now going into shadow phase, which is the last step of training. This is a make or break it phase of their training. It's very stressful for them. However, we believe that the 4 that we've got that are going into that phase have utilized every bit of training that they could. And they're, from what I understand, they're doing well. They should be on the street ready to go solo end of September, we're hoping. The ones that are graduating this Thursday, they have 17 weeks. After they finish 17 weeks at the PTI, the academy, they go through our 17 weeks. I always say, you're going to learn how to be a police officer at PTI. You're going to learn how to be a Danville police officer during the 17 weeks of field training. And that's, it can be very challenging, these young men and women. So hopefully we'll have everybody out on the street, including the 4 that being selected and sworn in on the 30th, spring of 2024. It's a long process. You can't just hire officers and put them on the street. It don't work out too well. So there's quite a bit of training, quite a bit of preparation that goes into each one, a lot of time invested. Waiting on the bids for finalize the construction over Public Works building for the training center, Police Community Training Center. That's going very well as getting everything together for Friendly Town, the renovations that are being done there. 2 people that come to mind, 2 departments, Finance and Public Works again. Kaylee Sanchez has been excellent at communicating with me as well as the people at the state. DCEO, whenever you have a state grant through DCEO, there's a lot of check marks and calls and follow-ups and everything else that go on, and she's been on top of it. She communicates very well with me on that. Much easier than some of the grants that I've had to do myself in the past. And then Joe Claypool with Public Works has been handling almost all the bids and the planning on the construction and renovations over at Friendly Town, as well as the construction at the Police Community Training Center. And he told me the possibility by the end of the year that we'll have the construction done at the training center, and then we'll be putting in the furniture and then the technical training systems and all that other stuff. So, any questions on that? Pretty excited about it. Can't wait till it's done, and we'll all have to take a look at it. That's all I got.
All right, thank you, Chief. Does anybody have any questions on any of the offense data or any year-to-date data that he gave us? Okay, thank you, Chief. Push us to Public Works, 15A. We have a resolution to approve purchase of 2 replacement 1-ton dump bed trucks. I'll make the motion to approve and dispense with the reading and ask for your approval. I will need a second, please.
Second.
Is there any questions on this resolution? If not, roll call, please.
Alderman Cooper?
Yes.
Pickering? Yes. Ludwig?
Yes.
Teague? Yes. Williams?
Yes.
York?
Yes.
Streebing?
Yes.
7 yes.
Yes, thank you. 15B, items of
What a
information.
question here.
Okay.
Items of information. Can we go this? You mind, since Sam's here, this True Fit Goodness up there, I mean, I'm sure everybody's got a lot of texts or whatever on it. What's going on up there? Could the city have done anything different to help these guys out to stay? I mean, I've been asked that probably 10 times already today.
Yeah, so I don't know what the shortcoming is there between them staying or going or whatever. I think what would be perhaps of the most value is for me to give you my most recent correspondence with them, just so you understand where the city stands, on this issue right now. So they did submit plans to us on August 10th. We did a preliminary review of those plans on August 10th, responded to their consultant and basically said there's some discrepancies we'd like to go over with you. Can we please schedule a call, to do that? We had a call with the consulting firm that's working with them on August 11th, the morning of. Basically we're waiting to schedule a more detailed call with their designer, the person who's actually doing the design work on the site plan after that. On August 15th, I received an email from the developer, basically saying, "Morning, Sam, Mr. Project Assistant has informed me that you've now supposedly found inconsistencies in the report submitted for permit. I'm requesting an itemized list of these discrepancies be sent to me ASAP." So I responded to that within about a little over 2 hours. That's not my guarantee, but it was fairly timely. And basically said, Mr. Developer, we do not intend to assemble another detailed list at this point. The attached email, and in the attached email that I provided was a list of all the specific items that are required. That email has been provided to your current consultant and your prior consultant. I would suggest you review the list with them and see what is missing if you wish to have a detailed list. Our cursory review last week provided evidence that the property boundaries are not surveyed, easements are not indicated, proposed contours are incomplete and do not match drainage plans. Proposed drainage outlets and under drains from the ponds are not all feasible. There may be offsite impacts that are not accounted for as the contours are incomplete and do not show how or where they meet existing grades. The utility plan is incomplete. There is no landscape plan, etc. We expect that these obvious discrepancies will lead to significant revisions to the site plan and drainage design and that they don't make it practical or useful for us to go to the length of a detailed review. I suggest that these items and others in the list be addressed and reviewed on your end for quality assurance prior to resubmitting. Our hope is to schedule a meeting or video conference with your design team so that we can go through these issues and make sure they are understood and can be addressed properly. We'll work in a meeting with them as soon as our availability allows. Currently, we are awaiting their availability. I've heard nothing since that correspondence. So, I mean, I don't know what I honestly don't know what the gap is. That's not been expressed. We've been going through design. There have been requests for us to generally provide waivers on the project for no specific items. It would seem that maybe for all items. And, so I'm not able to give feedback on what the gaps are. I think that my most recent correspondence is the most useful thing that I have and that I can share with all of you.
I understand that, but I think this True Grit guy, I don't know who he is, I guess you do, but said it was a major inability to work with city officials to get the project done. And here I am out here, and I'm going to have to respond to that one way or another.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the problem is. But now we're going to have a lot up here that's just going to sit vacant, I guess.
I know. None of us like it. We think it's a terrible situation. I can assure you that, we are not perfect, but we strive extremely hard to maintain a friendly working environment. In fact, on every development that we have that I get the opportunity, I specifically ask the consultants, the developers, whoever, how was it to work with us? What can we do better? Do you find our response times, and our correspondence to be useful, and just to gain an understanding of, not to say we're better than anybody or not better than anybody, but just to make sure that we're doing our best. And generally the feedback is very complimentary. So I don't know, there is no Angie's list of ratings of communities, or something like that. But unfortunately, I think there are a lot of hidden items that none of us understand in this situation. And all I could do is speculate, and I'm not going to do that in this fashion. So.
Well, I'm sure that also just it sort of bothers me that I would hope there's nothing more the city could have done to help them guys out to make sure they're locating here.
Yeah, I mean, we have expressed that we think it's a great idea. Obviously, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted for it. City Council voted for it. We have been very responsive in our communication with them. It's simply on our end, it's simply a lack of the documents that we need to show that what they intend to build meets city ordinances and that give our inspectors the ability to ensure that it protects public health and safety and the interests of adjoining property owners and the ordinances that you've all, that are in place for us to enforce and see that things are built accordingly.
And I agree 100% with that. I just hope there's no roadblocks that we did to stop it.
No, I mean, as far as I know, there are not, but I don't think that's an opinion that you'll get expressed from their side. So,
I mean, you might know more on it too. You got anything?
There are no the roadblock is the developer, period. I don't know any other way to say it politely or curtly, but some folks believe that the rules do not apply to them and that they refuse to follow the rules, and we require everyone to follow the rules. As you heard recently, Alderwoman Teague, Vice Mayor Teague, got a citation for her toter. My parents were written up for the home that I grew up in because the renter didn't take care of some garbage properly. So, we hold ourselves to the same standards that we hold everyone else to, but some people believe that they don't have to meet the law, and that's very unfortunate. Mrs. Steins is a childhood friend of mine, someone I love her family immensely. I was super excited for this project, told them as much. We announced it to the community as much. I, asked the council for their support of this project. We would love to have it here. I want to have it here, but you have to follow the rules, and if you refuse to follow the rules, it's our job to make sure that we protect everyone else's safety as well, particularly those of the individuals in that neighborhood. Because if there's flooding or something, in your area, we've got where there wasn't things constructed properly, it creates flooding and such in a neighborhood for, if there are going to be problems. People can say whatever they want, but there's always what people say, and then there's the truth.
Oh, I know, and there's always two sides on it, but I wish in a way that this could be more public, what our response would be or whatever, because right now we're getting pretty well slammed on this.
We've gotten slammed about this for a while now, and we've said again and again, we've stated facts, but the thing is, you cannot, facts do not convince people if they're unwilling to listen. Facts do not change people's perspective if they have a certain ideology, a certain stance that they want to take, and that's what they want to take. I mean, as we all know, the developer in this situation is suing us, so it's in his interest to make us look as bad as possible. And that's essentially what he's doing, unfortunately, is holding my friend and her family hostage for his own agenda. And they can't say that, but I will.
Well, somebody needs to. I mean, it could make us look bad if people in the business community think we're not going to cooperate with them, and I don't want to run into that situation.
Sure. Well, all I would say is look at all the other businesses that have come here and all the things that we've done to help them be here. And we've done everything that we can to help this business owner too, and including from the beginning, explaining to them this is not other communities. Here in this community, we require people to follow the law. And they said, oh, we understand, don't worry, we've got it under control. And apparently they don't.
Okay, one other question I got then. He applied to the EPA, didn't he? State EPA, did he get all that approval and everything?
I believe so. They have provided documentation that they filed a land disturbance permit with the EPA. So they have that piece in place. It's just a matter of having plans that meet ordinances, and things in addition to that. That's one piece of the puzzle, basically.
Right. How many permits were pulled through the city?
So they have applied for permits. They have not been issued any permits because there are times when we issue, and I'm not the building inspection guy. There are times when we can issue foundation permits or this other, certain permits as partial. This is not one of those scenarios because that ship sailed well ahead of time, and we're not certain that it's not an easy task to get this site to meet city ordinance. We don't want to continue permitting work that's going to get them farther down the road to not be compliant or to incur significant costs, or it puts us all in a worse spot than we're already in this situation. So that was the approach that we had to take, because there's honestly not been significant enough progress to know that they're making, at least on the design side, to know that they can and will build something per plan. So, or to
because they've already changed preliminary what they showed us preliminarily is what they've built is different than what was shown to us originally, and what they've built was done without any kind of permit.
Yeah.
So, but did they build it with our knowledge that they were going to without? No. So they started everything without the city's knowledge.
That it's not that we weren't aware of the project. We were aware that but there were no permits in place at the time that any of that. There have been no inspections performed on that work to any of the items that have been completed to date. There was no plan set. There was no plan for How high, what's the elevation of the building? How is it going to drain? Where's the parking lot going to drain to? How are the utilities getting to the site? Do they have rights with IDOT to do the work here? Do they have rights with the township to access the land there? Do they have rights to connect to the water main? Do we have adequate capacity on the sewer system? None of this stuff was a conversation or had a plan.
Which is required by everybody else, right?
That's correct. Yes.
That's, okay, I just wanted to know.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, these same building code, so we have our own ordinances, right? We're a home rule community. We have our own drainage ordinance and things like that. The building code piece is, something that applies statewide, and we enforce it, through inspection and review. Different municipalities have their own rules as far as drainage goes, utility connections. But yes, all of this stuff is very common on plans in communities our size. If you get into small communities like a Covington or a Tilton or a West, I don't know what they do and don't require and how they enforce that. But certainly these are very common requirements.
So we're sitting at that empty lot with all those trusses and that cement pad up there. Is it a finable offense or anything that can be done on that?
I don't, as I understand it, it is a finable offense. I believe if they, this is all stuff that we're going to have to look into, right? So I didn't even know this was a thing. Evidently Facebook's a very popular place this afternoon with regard to this topic. So that's something that our department, community development, the building inspectors will have to look into, and certainly we'll check into, is this the official status of this project? And then we're going to have to figure out what means we have to compel people to resolve items that are, because you can't just have an unpermitted slab remain on a site. So I don't know what the consequences would be or what the approach to that's going to be to get it resolved.
Okay, well, I mean, that helps. I know I'm going to be asked a ton of questions here in the next few days.
And we're happy to, to be honest, I actually appreciate the questions because it's unbecoming of me to go out of my way to respond to items like this. Not to you, but like to respond to Facebook posts to try to push this other stuff. And we don't have anything to hide, on this. I think that it's a very unfortunate situation that we all want to see resolved and hope to never be in again. So, but we didn't put us here. So,
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else got any questions for the engineer? How about for Public Works for Mr. Rui? Anybody got any questions for him? All right. Thank you. But just to close, item number 16, which is closed session, doesn't look like we have any need for. Items of information, full council will meet here in the chamber September 5th at 6 p.m. because, believe it or not, I remember that next week is the 5th Tuesday. So, and I don't know, I may be here and I may not. I'm on vacation, so I don't know if we're leaving sometime that day or in the morning. So, so 17A is discussion of change of hours at City Hall.
Thank you, Chairman. Vice Mayor and others had asked some questions, and so Comptroller Massey assembled some data for you all, and she emailed that to everyone, but I wanted her to be able to share that with you as well. I'll follow up with some of the questions you all had about research and processes that would need changed, and then we'll take any questions.
Hello again. As Mayor indicated on Friday, I sent an email just to respond. I wasn't able to be at the Public Works Committee meeting. I had a personal obligation, but I went back and listened to the recording, and I just heard some questions that I thought it made most sense that I would answer because I have the data in my office. So the first items that I provided was kind of how many bills we send out in a month, percentage of payment by type that we receive. And then I also provided some counts on, I reviewed some data for the last 3 months. How many in-person at our counter payments did we take per day? So on Mondays for 3 months, total, how many payments did we take? For Tuesdays, how many did we take? Wednesdays, how many did we take? So in summary, we About 13% of the city ACH, about 13% of total payments are city ACH draft auto pay. So that is auto pay without a fee. You provide us your account and routing, and we draft that from your bank account. That's a little over, or that's around 13%. Mail payments are around 37%. So 37% of individuals mail their payments in, and 16% come in and pay at our counter. 30 days prior to the date I ran these reports, we received 6,204 payments that we process. So we also do other kind of receipts in our office. We did about 200 the month before for the month of July on top of utility billing. As far as the counts, on Mondays for 3 months, we took 709 payments. For Tuesdays, we took 456. Wednesdays, 526. Thursdays, 591. And then Fridays, 618. I provide all of that raw data in the email, so every single day counts of payments. Just something to note, I think volume of payment is heavily influenced by what our due date is, right? People do oftentimes wait until the due date to come in and pay. So the day of the due date and the day or two prior to the due date do tend to have higher volumes. The Monday counts, there were 2 due dates in the Mondays. There was also a holiday where we weren't open at all. I think Fridays, there was 1 due date, if I look back. Sorry, no due dates on Fridays, but also no holidays. So I know those are the 2 days that have come up most frequently. So, and then the other item that I addressed in that email is there was a question related to the Dropbox. Why don't we advertise the Dropbox? Different things about that. The 3 big reasons that we do not currently advertise the Dropbox is 1, the Dropbox is located in another elected official / division head's office. That Dropbox does not drop into the finance division, which is responsible for receiving those payments. It drops into the treasurer's office. While our working relationship with the treasurer's office is very good right now, it has not always been, and it may not always be. I can't guarantee who is in that office. I don't report to them, and they don't report to me. 2, the Dropbox is not dependable. That Dropbox has been in this building since it used to be a bank. It was their night deposit box. We have a lot of issues with it, namely wind and debris and rain can get into the Dropbox, and sometimes there's like a ledge inside there. Items get stuck. It's a pain to get out. 3, the payments we receive through the Dropbox are often incorrect. Part of our process when we accept payments at the counter is to review checks. So if someone comes in and pays for a check, we make sure that it's dated. We make sure it's made out to the right payee. We make sure that it has a signature. We make sure that the written line matches the box where you put the number as opposed to writing out the amount. We have that problem a lot. If our deposit is off, the bank sends it back. Then we have to hunt down the owner of the check. What if they don't have the right return address on their check? It's a process we like to avoid just by reviewing payments. So those are the 3 big reasons we don't advertise the Dropbox. I will tell you, I said this in the email, if someone calls and they're like, hey, I'd like to come in and pay my bill, when are you open? And we give them the hours, and then they grumble and say that those hours don't work for them, which we often get, we will tell them about the Dropbox if none of our other payment methods work for them. We first go through, well, you can pay at any First Financial Bank during any of their open hours. You can mail in your payment. You can pay online. You can pay by phone. You can set up auto draft with us for no fee, our personal favorite. So we do go through all that. If none of that works for them, we will tell them about the Dropbox. But I just kind of wanted to respond to some of those questions. And another question might be, why do we not fix the Dropbox? Why do we not put in a new Dropbox? So I've been here about 3.5 years. For around 2 of those 3.5 years, as you know, we've rolled out a capital plan. We've done some evaluating. This building specifically is going to need some serious capital input. So weighing that decision in, there was an evaluation of, will we be here long term? It doesn't make sense for us to make a financial investment in a building that we may not be here long term, especially if Breezy is not going to be here long term. We would be the only building on this entire city block. So that has now passed. I think that evaluation was done. I don't think we are planning on moving at this point in time, but I just wanted to say that that is for a period of time, why that was not considered, and that was being considered to relocate potentially. Would that work for us when we took on utility billing? So that's why it was not one of those payment methods. I'm not saying that that couldn't change now, but I'm just letting you know that that's why it wasn't evaluated. So that was everything that was covered in my email. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to take those.
Anybody? Any questions?
I don't have questions, but I have comments. But did you want to say something before any comments?
Oh, I could. Vice Mayor, did you have questions?
Yes, I did have a couple questions. So one of the questions that I have is, so based on the percentages that you provided, that adds up to 56%. So what are the payment type for the other 34%?
In my email, I go through the full 100.
Okay.
So 13% for auto pay, 37 for in-person, 37 for mail, 16 for in-person, and payments through our utility billing portal is 34%.
Okay.
So those are hard to distinguish between, you can have auto pay through our portal or you can use one time. So you can
Right.
log in and just say, I want to make a one-time payment. So I have no way to tell the
Distinguish
difference.
those, right,
but-
okay. My other question is, what happens if a mail payment is incorrect?
We have to go through the process of trying to track down the owner, and it's time-consuming and inconvenient. So, but yes, we have to.
But I'm assuming it happens.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Those are my only questions.
Anybody else?
I just have
I had
comments after.
Comments? Go ahead.
No, I'll let Mayor go first.
So you all asked me to share with you some of the research the data that I found. I sent you 5 different articles about surveys or studies that have been done over the last several years. 3 of them by academic institutions, 2 of them by financial institutions. The most recent one was a combination of a 6-month and a 1-year study that was performed by 100 companies in America, England, and I think Canada was the other, Ireland was the other country. And essentially it did an assessment of what kind of returns were they getting. You know, one of our concerns was efficiency and effectiveness. If people are working longer days, do they burn out? What they found was productivity went up by as much as 40% in some of these studies, some of them even more than that. They also found better employee satisfaction as well. So productivity and income went up, and employee satisfaction went up as well. You also asked me what are some of the major tasks that would be impacted by the schedule change. Currently, the deadline for agenda items is 4:30 on Thursdays. We would need to move that to 9 a.m. on Thursdays in order to make that happen. I spoke with our city clerk, and she said that you certainly don't need 8 hours to put together the packet. It's something that's with the software they have now, it's pretty efficient and doesn't take more than a couple of hours at most. Also, you asked, payroll and accounts payable are normally printed on Thursday during the day. That would not change. However, the distribution is normally done on Friday morning. That would need to be moved to Thursdays at 4:30 as well. And those are the 3 major changes, procedural changes that would need to be made. As far as the survey, I was not here, so I haven't had a chance to do that yet, but I intend to conduct one next week as requested.
Thank you, Mayor. Go ahead.
As of the email that our comptroller sent us, so 16% of the people pay in person, correct? Okay, so say people that come in at lunch, let's say 2%. That's high if they come in during lunchtime, right? From 12 to 1. That's less than one person a day. The other thing is, on this chart that you give us, the second highest day was Friday for the people to come in and pay, or the payments for people to come in and pay. It was 709 on Monday and 618 on Friday. So that's the second highest day for people to come in and pay. As far as the drop box, and you address this, I think we could fix that issue. There would be not a simple fix, but I think if that's a problem, we could easily fix that. If the hours were closed for lunch is a problem, we could stagger those lunch hours, and we can do that. Some of my other comments was, when a special project needs is to be completed on Friday, we will be paying overtime, especially when it is with the IT department or the finance department. If the city hall is closed on a Monday for a holiday and closed on Friday, that is a long stretch for the public not to have access to the city hall. That's 4 days. And on Thanksgiving, it would be 5 days that it would be closed. If our plans are to change from 7:30 to 5:30 and a half an hour lunch, if there is many people who you say come in at lunchtime, that could create a bottleneck. So it would not solve the problem. It would create a worse problem. And last but not least, we, the elected officials and the city workers, work for the citizens of Danville, and they pay the taxes that pay our salaries. So I don't think this is something that would benefit our citizens.
Any other comments?
I have a couple other comments. So, in what was discussed, so let me back up. I decided to look at the inspection map. And then I also looked at the garbage collection map. And what I found is that the entire East End all has toters out that if they are in violation, it would be on Friday. And I actually went through, so I printed off which map is this? This is the waste map. And then I looked at this is the waste map. Yeah, this is the waste map. And then I compared it to the inspector's map and all of the different sectors. And then I was going through and I made my little lines to see what sectors are where. So for the East End, there are 8 sectors. One of them doesn't even have garbage because it's Lynch Road. So there's really 7 that Brandon would be inspecting. And all of those, well, not all of, yeah, all of his, with the exception of all of his are people who have their garbage picked up on Thursday. There are also 4 in, I didn't write down inspector names, whoever Inspector 2 is. There are 4 of his that are on Fridays. And then, I take that back, there's 6 out of the 7 of Brandon's that are on Fridays. So I said all that to say, we would have a major issue with garbage on the East End. And all of this stuff that we work so hard and so long on to try to resolve if code inspectors are not working on Fridays. So I am going to echo everything that Alderman Pickering said, because I agree with everything she said. And then I'm going to add to that we have inspections, that there are a lot happening on Fridays. And when you look at this inspection report, it shows East Area had 61 warnings last month. And all of those were on Fridays. That's on page 32 of our last report. And then on page 45 of our last report, the dates of those violations, this is why I asked the question, because I'm looking at the dates. Those are all Fridays. 7/14 is a Friday, 7/28 is a Friday. So to me, this is a bad idea for a lot of reasons. Everything that Alderman Pickering said, on top of then the garbage, on top of, I just think that it is bad business for us to be closed on a Friday when people are coming here to do business with us, especially when the data shows that that is the second highest day. And I imagine that Monday is the highest day because some people's paycheck doesn't clear until after end of business, and so they got to come in on Monday if they're paying in person. But for those people who actually have their paychecks clear on Friday, they come in on Friday. I think that the better solution would be to stagger lunches so that we can be open during lunch, because we're creating a bigger problem, as Alderman Pickering said, by closing on Fridays, because you have a huge number of people who would not be able to pay their bill. A lot of people, my parents included, prefer to pay in person. I don't personally do it. I'm in that 16% number. I don't want to think about the bill. But that's not everybody's mode of operation. And so we have to accommodate the people that we are serving, because, as Alderman Pickering said, we are here to serve the people of this city and to serve the taxpayers. And if that's what they're already doing, we shouldn't be shifting to accommodate ourselves. It'd be different if we were a private corporation. I've worked in places where we had option to have 4 10s, or you work 4 9s and a 4 on Friday and you take off early, but it was an option. The entire place did not shut down. I can't imagine what happens if there's an emergency, a major emergency on a Friday, and there's nobody in IT, and there's nobody in the mayor's office, and there's nobody in this building. To me, that is, if there's a number of horrible things that can happen that we need to be able to be here for during the week. So that's my opinion on this.
Alderman, can I say something? Can I comment?
Yeah, go ahead, Agnew.
So just, IT is available 24/7, anytime anything happens, and it's been like that for years. So we understand the criticality of services, being provided to the citizens, as well as the police, fire. They open 24/7, so it really doesn't affect us. But it would be nice if Fridays was available to us, because the reason I'm saying is, right now we are spending our weekends every week keeping our systems up to date, and we're sacrificing our weekends. And it would help us give a little bit bigger window for maintenance that we do right now on our systems. Because right now I have to have a pretty tight window during the week just to get the financial system up and running. We are behind the patches, like 5 levels of patches every week. And I have to kind of check with everybody, hey, can I do this now? It's not a good time. So we keep pushing it. So in the last 9 years I've been here, I was never able to catch up with all these upgrades. Thanks to you all for the endpoints, which we approved. That helped us big time, because those get updated automatically. But we have like 80 servers that we have to maintain. And the only time we can do is after hours. So it would help IT a little bit. Either way, whichever direction it goes. But IT will be available regardless whether it's a Friday or not. We will make sure one of us is here all the time. I just wanted to share.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
So would that make Friday an overtime day?
No, we don't get overtime
You don't get overtime, or salary, okay.
salary.
Everybody in IT is salary?
Yes, but we do get comp time if we have additional hours during the
Okay.
weekend. But the problem is I have so much comp time that I'll never be able to use it, because when will I use it? Because I never get caught up with all the work that's done. So thanks to my wife, she's very understanding and things like that. But it would really help in some case. But regardless, IT is always there to help in any situation. So
And my response to that is, everywhere that I've worked, that's customary IT. In my business, IT does upgrades overnight. There have been times that I forgot to turn my computer on and got up at midnight and turned it on, and I still got upgraded the next morning. So at my business, it happens at 2 a.m. Or somewhere around there. And they're not staff. We hire out IT. So to me, I feel like I understand where you're coming from, right? And I don't want to diminish, what you're saying, but I also feel like that's par for the course of being in an IT career. I mean, I used to have to work weekends anytime we had a release. So there are many times that I was home for a holiday, and it was over a holiday weekend, and I was sitting in Roll Donut, because I didn't live here then, trying to do a release on a Saturday. So to me, it's par for the course with specific careers.
yeah. And with our generation, we totally get that. But with the newer generation, they want their time. They want their time they do not want to work after hours and things like that. They want a balanced life. So that's what I'm hearing from my team as well. Like, why do we have to work every weekend? Why do we have to work after hours and things like that? So I think that's the trend that we are seeing. Even with the newer hires, their first question they ask is, can we work remotely, or can we just work so many hours a week, or things like that? So just sharing that.
Okay.
I also, if I could respond to, I just want to reiterate that, Alderman Pickering, you brought up the, we serve the citizens and they pay our salaries. And I can tell you that I don't think there's anyone sitting here at this dais or behind or who is not here that doesn't know that we serve the citizens. This idea was born out of feedback we got from our citizens. And if City Council doesn't think that these hours changing are a good idea, that's totally fine. That is fine. But I do want you to know that we are well aware that we serve the citizens because we're the ones answering the calls all day, every day. We're the ones serving the citizens when they come into the building all day, every day.
Right.
There's not a confusion about why we're here and what we're doing. So if City Council doesn't think that an hour change is a good solution for our citizens, that's okay. But I just want to be clear that that is the mission all day, every day.
And I know that. I didn't mean that as an insult to you because I know all of you are that way. But I've just heard from different citizens that that's how they feel. But I understand. You are right. I know you do that.
The comment about staggering lunch hours, we brought up that idea with the union, and that was something that they were not willing to accept in negotiations. So that is not a management right that we have. I read what you said, and
Contractually, it doesn't say that.
it does. I'm sorry I didn't have a chance to go through it with you before, but I talked to Jim about it, and we don't. It says you have the right to do these things as long as it doesn't contradict anything else that's in this contract, in the CBA. And in the CBA, it specifically spells the hours for lunches and everything by department or division. So we don't have the right to change those outside of the contract. We would have to renegotiate it, and during negotiations, they simply told us that's something that they're not willing to do.
Wasn't the hours 11 to 1 for lunchtime?
But if you go on further, it says by division what their actual hours are expressly.
So financial was different?
All of them are. It says generally these are the hours of when they'll be, when lunch will occur. But then afterwards it says you cannot do anything that will specifically violate or be in contrast to this contract. And in the contract, it says what the hours for the lunch time are. Okay. That was something that we did attempt to negotiate with them because we were open to all kinds of solutions. Number one, the request from the citizens, how can we best serve them? Number two, how can we retain and keep talent? Because you'll read in some of the studies that I shared with you the number of companies that have these type of work, various either flexible working hours or they work 4 10-hour days and things like that. And as I said, we've had, I think, 6 different people now in the role of billing and collections clerk because people that are younger than me and Vice Mayor and Alderman Ludwig, they care more about their time and that than they do care about even pay. And that'll be reflected in some of those studies that you see. So I want us to be able to best serve our citizens and also keep good people here. It's a challenge. Regarding Thanksgiving, we are already off the Friday. We're already closed the Friday after Thanksgiving, so that wouldn't change.
Yeah. Well, and I guess another concern is young people with children. When you get into the winter months, they're not getting off until 5:30. A lot of their school activities start then. So, or might even start before that. And with inspection, how are they going to inspect after dark?
Well, what I would tell you is they do a lot of paperwork, and what they would do is shift their paperwork to that time when it's going to be dark outside. That would be a possibility. The other thing that I would say is I think that we also have 2 different things here that I hope that we all will consider, and that is General City Hall and the inspectors. For example, over in Public Works, the general hours for operations are Monday through Thursday, like we are proposing here. However, the inspectors still work a 5-day week. That would certainly be something that we could do, because it seems to me that the biggest concern that you all have is about inspections. And I agree with Vice Mayor Teague. We've made progress, and we certainly don't want to go back. And that's one way that we would be able to continue to move forward, is to allow the inspectors to work the same schedule as their brethren in Public Works do, which is 5 8-hour days.
And today on the big news, they were talking about school districts going to 4-day work weeks. So it's going to be the trend, and look for it to happen, I'm telling you. So if no more comments, I think we have taken care of everything that was on the agenda this evening. So I'll need a motion and a second for adjournment.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We are adjourned.